What's up everyone, Dave here with Black Label Painting. So today I will be working on this Malcador for my cultist, but I'll be painting it white. So before that I'm going to show you guys again, I may have shown you before in other videos, but I'll show you again how I apply chipping fluid for rust and such. So kick back, relax, and check out and see how I do it. First off, I'll start off with a base coated primed blacked model, and then I'll come in with MIG Rust Tracks is the color that I'm using. The number, I just show you the number, but the number's kind of rubbed off. I believe it's a MIG-034 is the brown that I'm using, and that is a MIG brand. So now that I'm done applying the brown for the way I want it to look, you can see it's not uniform. It's sporadic. It's all over. It's there. It's thicker in spots. That's okay to get the variation of the colors of rust. So I'm gonna do a neat little trick with this one. I'm gonna use some stencils from Fallout Hobbies. Since this is gonna be my cultist, my militia. They're chaos stars. They're kind of hard to see there in the video, but I'll be putting on the stencils, applying chipping fluid over the paint through the stencil. That way my chipping fluid is applied directly where I want it to be, and all I'll have to do is come back and chip off the paint, and it will leave behind the giant chaos star. So it's going to be a giant rusted chaos star coming through the side of this tank. Now, once I applied the brown that I'm going to be using for the base, I'm going to come back in here and seal all this. So I'm going to be using a MIG matte varnish. Really a big fan of these MIG paints. The number on that is MIG-089. So I've never tried this before, and this is going to be totally experimental, and you guys are going to get to watch it happen. But so far, so good. The stencil is a little bit of a pain in the ass to get to stick to all the weird shapes and angles. But I mean, I guess that's to be expected. I mean, you're trying to put something over multiple different angles and surfaces. It's going to be a pain in the ass. But so far, so good. I'm going to try to get this thing to adhere a little bit more in spots, and then I'm going to lay on the AK chipping fluid, and then we'll do the other side, and then I will paint the model, and then at the end we will do the removing with the AK interactive, and it should be these rust stars coming through. So here we go. Wish me luck. Well, I tell you, this is a task, but I mean, the end result, hopefully it'll be worth it. So, yeah, just stay tuned. All right, I don't know if you can see it in the video or not, but it's still a little wet on that one. You can see the star pretty good. But up here's where it's dry. You can see the outline of the star, and that's what we want. So once we paint this black, and then we start bringing in our grays, and then I bring it up to our white. Once we get our desired, our desired white, then we could take water and activate these areas, and the rust should pop right through. Stay tuned. These stencils really are awesome. Like I said, you can check these out on Fallout Hobbies. Again, they're really hard to pick up in the video because of my LED lighting. But go check them out, man. They got really good products. I'm going to go ahead and add in some other areas to chip on here as well. That way this is not the only thing chipping coming through. But I'll definitely be a little bit lighter in my chipping down this area as I am up top. Just drying the whole model off now before I proceed onto the onto. Oh man, you know what? Man, before I proceed on to doing the base color. I just realized I totally neglected to shave those off beforehand, but that's all right. I can get them in this stage right here, and whenever I go to put the base back on it, because I'm going to have to start with black primer and then do my gray, and then I'll build up to white. But, yeah, since this is all 30K stuff, not going to have any of the Aquilas on anything, even if it is going to be cultist. Correction, militia. Okay, now that we got rid of those Aquilas, now we're going to move on to priming the model again. And I'm going to use Badger's brand of primer. It's Style Res. Couldn't think of there for a second. Style Res primer. This shit is really, really, really good. If you guys are looking for a good primer for your airbrush, I cannot recommend this enough. It's really good stuff. It covers really good. Okay, we're going to give that a second to dry. We've got a good solid coat, good solid coverage on it. Thin coats here, there, and everywhere to build up to a nice solid coat. And then we're going to go ahead and go in and use Styrex Gray Primer. Now, this is going to be used to help bring up from the black to the white. So, give this a few more minutes to dry, and then we'll go ahead and proceed to that. If you look closely, you can still see some of the outline coming through the Chaos Star, that's awesome. So it's just some more neat stuff you can do with chipping fluid. It's good stuff. Gonna give it a few more minutes. Oh well, I tried to get it to focus. It didn't want to focus, but the part number for these two primers, the black is SNR-203 black primer, and then the gray is SNR-202 gray primer. And these are what I'm using, both in conjunction with a white. I'll put the white on the screen here in a second. Whenever I go to build up my white, I'll go black, I'll go gray, and then my final stage will be white. I'm going to be using a Vallejo surface primer. Only because I haven't picked up the white yet, but I will. I will probably be picking up the entire line of Stylerez primers. They're just, the black is so awesome. Now, when it comes to doing this part, I'll come down, I'll drop my PSI a little bit and get it down. I'll drop my PSI down a little bit, that way I'm not just hammering it on. I don't know exactly what PSI to tell you I'm putting it on because I'm just adjusting it. Right here, I've got an adjuster on the side of my gun. I bought this part aftermarket. It's a Grex pressure regulator. Not regulator, adjuster. Alright, so starting from my angle, I'll tip the tank at an angle. I'll come down at a 45-degree angle, laying down my gray. Now I'll focus my spray pattern up here and let the overspray work and gradiate in with the black. It'll look really nice. Trigger control is pretty key at this stage as well. You got to know when to put a little bit more gray on, and you just want the tops of your tank, of the area. You still want some of this black in here because that'll help with the gradation, and it'll just look good. And you're going to want to go to just go around your tank if you're working on a tank with this scheme. Just get all the high areas first, and then slowly, gradually bring down the rest. Hell, honestly, if you was going to go for a really nice looking gray, just those two primers together come up with a really nice gray, I think. And you can see that's the look you're going for. But if you wanted a really nice gray, those two together would be perfect. I don't think it looks half bad. So, all right, we're going to give it a second. I'm going to go ahead and move it into the white. All right, now we're going to go ahead and push on over into the white. Like I said, I'm using Vallejo Surface Primer. It's white. It's already pretty thin, when you first get it. But I'm going to add a little bit of this MIG thinner in there just to thin it down a little bit and help it spray a little bit better, because white is notorious for splattering when you paint with it. So the thinner you get it, the better it is to spray with coming out of the airbrush. It just takes more coats, so you got to be patient with it because it is going to be super thin. You don't want it to run. Now that I say that, let me try to pull this off without making a run. Done got out of the screen there for a second. Sorry about that. But this is what is typically referred to as a cool white. I like to paint cool whites more than warm whites. Warm whites use a tan or a tan base and then build up to white. But I just prefer doing the cool whites. I just like the way they look. I do those on all my white scars, white scar commissions or personal armies. I just personally tend to like it a little bit better. There's nothing wrong with a warm white, but I just prefer cool whites. See, we're gradually building it up to our white. We're not going to get in a rush. I want this to be a gradual build up. So there's a couple solid good coats. You can see, I know it's upside down for y'all. Yeah, let me fix that. As you can see, I'm slowly building it up. It's nice and bright up here, but it'll slowly build out to where it'll be more white. But this white I am going to be doing as a dirty white, you know, because I'm going to have the rust coming through and the chips and such. But just give me a sec. Let's let some of this dry, and then I will go ahead and hammer on into the other coat. And that's pretty much how I do my whites. If you'll notice, it's not really that hard. You use 3 colors. Use a black base, a gray base, and then a white highlight. And lots of trigger control, and then finding your angles with it. It's not that hard. White does intimidate a lot of people. There's several steps to it, but it's not that bad, honestly. Yeah. But if you just wanted to see how I did whites, that's pretty much how I do the whites. That's all the secrets that are involved with my whites. That's how I get them to look the way they do. So if you want to you were just watching this just to learn how to do my white, you can go ahead and click off now. Or if you just want to see me go ahead and get to the stage where I'm using I'm pulling the rust out from underneath this, then you can continue to watch. But all in all, what took me the longest part was doing the stencils. The stencils took about 20 minutes. So we're just at the 50-minute mark. So on a tank like this, typically you can pull that white off in 30 minutes. So it's not too terribly bad. And you can do this in rank and file. You can do this with bikes. You can apply the same exact method to anything you want to paint white. Marines, just on a smaller scale. But I'm going to let this dry for a second. And when I come back, we'll go ahead and start trying to pull off. No, I actually might want to let this dry for a little bit longer. So I'm just going to conclude it for right here. And we're rolling, we're rolling into the 51-minute mark. My main focus was to show you how I do whites. But I'll come back and then I'll record the rest where I'm actually pulling the rust out of the white, so you can see how the effect looks. That will also be up on the Patreon as well. But for now, if you want to learn how to do whites, there it is. Blacks are similar, but I'll cover black in another video. I've actually got some custodes that I will be knocking out as well. They're a commission as well I've got to knock out. So I'll show you how I do not only my black, but if you've seen any of my custodes that I've finished, how it's the black and it's got the candy red, I'll show you how I got the candy red as well as the black in the same video. So you're getting a 2-for-1 there. All right, guys, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate all of my Patreons. And I will do my very best to keep these videos coming for you guys, to keep the content going. I really appreciate it, and I will look for you all on the next one.